Hey there, fight fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode of Combat Sports Talk. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the man with the keys to victory, John Keys.
Fellow Combat Sports Nation, my fellow sports taters, or sport.
What's a sports tater?
I know, right? A spectacle.
What's a sports tater?
Spectator, combat spectator. We need a name for our crew. We need a name for our nation, man.
Well, yeah. Well, George calls everybody the Combat Sports Nation.
Okay.
But I'm kind of partial to the sports taters.
Okay. We can call him sports tater. Where is George? Okay, where is he?
Man,
okay.
I tell you what, that he is. He has been very busy. We'll get into it a little bit later in the show about what happened with Canafist 1. We have some disappointing news. Not that he lost. He didn't lose. The dude didn't even touch George. So we'll get into it a little bit later.
I suspect that he's at a buffet somewhere right now.
Oh, might be. He might be. He might be. But I did have an opportunity to talk to George. And so I've got the latest on him, his situation, and what's going down. Maybe he'll show up a little bit later tonight, or this evening, or this afternoon, whenever. But let's go ahead, wherever we are. Let's go ahead and talk about it. It was a huge weekend of fights. There was UFC Vegas 32, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. You had Paige Van Zandt versus Rachel Ostovich at BKFC 19. And then, of course, we promoted Canafist 1 of Oklahoma Kickboxing Championships, other known as OKC. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we talk about the fights on Saturday night. We're going to start with the big one and then go to the other fight. So the big fight was the return of TJ Dillashaw, the Snake. He was coming in after a 2-year layoff after being busted for EPO against Henry Cejudo by USADA. He was coming back at UFC Vegas 32, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw, Saturday, July 24th, 2021, at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. There were 5 fights on the card, but before we even talk about any of these fights, we got to talk about the fact that what is the UFC's warning? What's the warning that UFC gives to every fighter who steps in the octagon?
Keep it clean.
Come on,
no
bro.
Eye pokes. Have a fair fight. What?
There's a warning that the UFC, Dana White said it first at the Ultimate Fighter #1. It's printed at the top of the door.
Exactly. I'm sorry. My golden rule that you learn pretty much in the UFC game if you ever play it. Never leave the fight in the hands of the judges. Never,
because if you do, you get what happened on Saturday night. There was it was basically I think there were 3 fights, maybe 4 fights that ended in a robbery. If you didn't put your opponent to sleep, you were probably going to get robbed that night. Some of the worst judging I have seen in the UFC, and this is counting. I mean, this is counting like all the times they've come to Texas because, let's face it, Texas has some of the worst MMA judging on the planet. And I
can agree with that.
This is in Vegas. This is the Apex. They're supposed to get it right before everybody else gets it right. Vegas needs to get it right. And guess what? They didn't on Saturday night.
Well, the violence was on point, though. Let's put it out there.
The fighters did their jobs. Did their jobs. But we're going to have to go ahead and talk about it. Randy Costa lost his fight to Adrian Yanez via TKO at 211 in round number 2. Fortunately for Adrian Yanez, he finished his fight. So all the work that he did training for this fight and getting ready got paid off.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. This was actually the one fight that I did miss. Okay, so I can't really say much about that. But hey, I can always go back and watch highlights.
Yeah, I same here. I because I was invested in the Miranda Maverick fight, I just skipped and started at that one and started watching going forward.
Yeah, so let's talk about that investment there. So Ryan on the down low went on social media and went to her page and put up a fragment of our show to Miranda saying, and what did you say in there that you picked her and you had her hopes in her and everything?
No, so here's the deal. When we record the show, there's a service that I pay for that will go through the audio, and it's got like a little bit of a machine learning, artificial intelligence, whatever, and it pulls clips out that I can use for promo during the week. And one of them was what I was saying about Miranda Maverick. So I was like, hey, it was us picking our fights last week. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, you know what? I really like Miranda Maverick. I think she can win this fight. Macy Barber, I remember saying, is so strong. But I like Miranda Maverick in this fight. So it selected that clip, and I'm like, hey, I'll just go ahead and tag Miranda Maverick on Instagram, to let her know that we were talking about her. And she actually listened to it, and she gave, she liked it. So I was like, hey, just so you know, I picked you in this fight, good luck, make me proud kind of thing, and she went out there.
Oh, they were game for it, dude. Okay, let's just put it all out there, okay, that this weekend, okay, I don't care what anybody says about women MMA in general, they were scrapping this weekend. There was no whole bar this weekend. We'll talk more about it, but they set the standard, and it just, it was good. It was a good, solid fight.
It was a good, solid fight, but clearly Miranda Maverick won the first round. She won the second round and lost the third round, yet she lost by split decision. That bad judging, terrible judging. Daniel Cormier was like, hey, I'm happy for Macy Barber. She won, but I can't agree with the judge's decision. Daniel Cormier said it. Fight genius Angela Overkill Hill said that Miranda Maverick won. I think that every fighter who sat and watched this, every true fight fan who watched this fight can say that they saw Miranda Maverick winning this fight. You could be a Macy Barber fan, and you could be happy that Macy Barber won the fight. But if you sit there and you watch the fight and you're honest with yourself, and this is what Daniel Cormier said, even Macy Barber knows she got away with one.
Right. And I agree, but, the crow button, just like justice,
I refuse to hit it. I refuse to hit that crow button. It feels dirty.
That crow button is blind. Okay, go ahead and press it for yourself, sir.
You know what? I will wear that crow. I will eat that crow with pride because Miranda Maverick did her thing. I did tell her. I sent her a note, congratulating her on her effort. Told her that I had the score 2-1 in favor of her rounds 1 and 2, and I told her I would do one more thing. And so let's make it official, y'all. Here we go. I am on the Miranda Maverick hype train. That's right. I am picking Miranda Maverick. She is one of mine now, so that when I see her fight, I'm on that hype train. I got her back. I am in that corner. She is going to win. I want to see her against Valentina Shevchenko someday. So let's see it. Let's get it. Let's get it going. I'm on the hype train.
Right on.
You want to join me?
Agree.
You want to join me on that hype train?
I need to see more. Nothing against you, Miranda. Nothing against you. But like the golden rule of MMA sports is, never leave the fight in the hand of the judges. Start putting them on the ground. Start making them have a bad day. Okay, and I'll be with you.
Talk about somebody who had a bad day. Derek Minner. He got beat up by Darren Elkins, and I think that Darren Elkins really needs to start thinking about like what is his career after fighting,
It don't matter
because
because he took a beating. He took a beating.
because it's one of those things where when you see the beating that he took in all right, hey, I'm giving you the prayer hands, my man. All right, there we go. We're good now. Thank you. Appreciate it. So when you see the damage that Derek Minner took, sorry, and now I'm all flabbergasted. Darren Elkins got beat up. He got bloodied up. Derek Minner was just all over him in the very first part of the fight. And then because he was trying to submit a guy who had not been submitted, like when was the last time Darren Elkins got submitted? It's been like forever, if it's ever happened. You're on mute right now, my man.
Yeah, you're right. I was on mute.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, now we're back to the show. Okay,
Yep.
so the reason why, and this is, and you know, first of all, don't and you know, Minner can come find me, and we'll just have to talk about it. I'll give him 5 minutes of my time for him, but I'm not taking you seriously if you got your name tattooed on your back, going down your spine. Just how it's gonna be.
Wait, pause. Right. Time out. Why? What's the deal with that? What is your aversion to having?
We're a family friendly show.
Okay.
And we're on a Sunday, so I'm not gonna double whammy. I had lightning strike outside my window last time I talked crazy, crazy about religion. So we're not gonna do that. All right.
All right.
With that said, though, all right, Elkins is from Team Alpha Male. Okay. One thing. What is Team Alpha Males? If you know Alpha Male, what is their go-to move of all moves to finish a fight? Exactly. So if you and if one would think that if their go-to move is the guillotine to finish a fight, don't you think they might have a defense for it if they're caught into it at some level? They might have a defense for it, or they might have a resistance to it to some level. And that's pretty much what's kept happening, is that Minner kept going for the guillotine, and Elkins like, you know, put me in it, bro. I'm going to be in here for him. I'm fine. Okay, really. I'm okay. You know, I'm not turning purple here. And so with that said, at one point, you know, Minner gassed his arms out, and Elkins like, oh, now it's time for me to start. Okay, and he just reversed him, and he just went for the gold. And
damage.
Okay.
Yeah. Damage with an N.
Yes. Exactly.
DAMNAGE. Damage.
Exactly. And I'm just like, what happened to watching tape? Okay, you know, doing a little fight research, a little op research on your opponent. Whatever happened to that? That's a lost art, apparently.
Do you know how many times Darren Elkins has been submitted?
None, if I can remember correctly. Once.
One time by Charles Oliveira, and it was an armbar. Darren Elkins has never been choked. So never ever. The dude has 35 fights. Never been choked.
Wow. So and he thought he was going to be the one, huh? He really thought he was going to be the one.
Some people, you know, they shoot for the stars, you know, and you know, he wanted to make a name off of Darren Elkins, and the dude is like, I'm not the one. And so not today. And so he ended up getting Minner in a crucifix and landed 100 and something punches before Mark Smith was like, okay, the fight gods have been appeased.
Exactly, because I was like, you know, everybody's like, okay, please stop. Okay, it's over. And that's what we were like. Even I was like, okay, I'm counting 30, I'm counting 40. Okay, when we're good? Are we really good? When will Aries say, okay, referee, it is done? And you know, just reach down and tap him on the shoulder like, okay, we're good here. All right. But God, he was I mean, and it was bad. I mean, this was not
So, but that's the thing, right? And so whenever
It
you
was not
have,
good.
yeah, it was not good. When you have a judge, you have bad judging, and then you have referees who are slow to stop fights. It puts the fight in the hands of the judges. Like
Yeah.
this is what we saw in the Kyler Phillips fight versus Holly and Paiva, right? Holly and Paiva was
Yes.
getting smashed in the first round. He was smashed.
Smashed.
He was smashed. Like, don't even use the A, use the E. You know, if it was so bad, we were almost to you. He was almost smushed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
exactly. Yeah.
and Kyler Phillips gassed himself out trying to finish the fight in the first round, and the judge, even though Paiva had been rocked, he'd already been dropped, and then he was just taking these huge shots. He let the fight go to the bell.
And here's the funny part. At the end of the first round, I was like, "Oh, this is a win. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go grab me something to eat." And I walked away from it. And then when
Yeah, when you came back, what happened? You know,
I was like, "Did he win?"
yeah,
And it's like, "Oh my god." I was disappointed.
yeah. So it was Paiva defeated Kyler Phillips via majority decision. That means two judges gave it 29-28 Paiva. One called it a draw. Everyone is saying that the first round should have been a classic 10-8 round.
Yes, indeed, I agree.
Yeah. So when the judges don't give a round a 10-8 and then this happens, this should have been a draw at worst. The fight should have been called a round 1 TKO. But because it wasn't, it should have been a draw. It dang sure shouldn't have been a majority decision.
Agreed.
And speaking about a fight that shouldn't have been a decision, it shouldn't have been a split decision in favor of TJ Dillashaw, who defeated Corey Sandhagen 48-47, 48-47, 47-48. So he won 2-1, or actually no, it's 3-2 against Corey Sandhagen, derailing Corey Sandhagen's chances at being the number 1 contender for the Aljamain Peter Yan result.
And I am heavily disappointed with that. Don't get me wrong. Fight was solid. It was a solid main event. It was a main event war. And if you really take a look at the significant strikes, they were neck and neck. However, if you look at I was sitting there watching it with my son, and I told him that something tells me that they're going to judge it on the aggression that TJ Dillashaw was doing. He never really backed up. He kept going forward.
Right.
And I think that's what they judged it. That was the final part of the judge was his aggression. But it was just like Corey, every time he came near, Corey had something for him. Like, hey, don't get too close to me. He was like, give me 6 feet every time.
Yeah, back. Give me 50 feet. It's one of those things where Corey Sandhagen hit TJ Dillashaw with everything and the kitchen sink. He hit him with elbows,
Flying
punches, knees. He hit him with everything. I mean, even if you look at who put on a show, Corey Sandhagen won the fight. If you look at the damage that was done, Corey Sandhagen won that fight. Like, there's no way that Corey Sandhagen should have lost that fight. Now, once again, the crow button doesn't care. Crow button is blind.
We have to do it.
No, we had TJ Dillashaw.
We won. We had that prediction.
So we don't get the crow button, even though it should.
Yeah.
I mean, we should feel dirty for not getting the crow on a fight that clearly Corey Sandhagen won. But at the end of the day, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but didn't. That's what happened.
But I will say this. If we remove our personal beliefs on TJ Dillashaw and actually look at the athlete himself, he put on a monster show for a comeback. Okay, he is truly the argument of there is no such thing as ring rust. Okay.
Well, I like the way you loop me into the whole personal opinions about TJ Dillashaw. I don't have any personal opinions about Dillashaw.
I do have personal opinions about Dillashaw, but if you look at him as the athlete as he is, He's a monster. And Corey Sandhagen, oh my God, so much respect for that man. He has nothing to be ashamed of for last night. He really doesn't have anything to be ashamed of.
It's just unfortunate that when you take a loss in this sport, it derails what you're trying to do. It gives people a reason not to give you the fight that you want. Because where is Corey Sandhagen going to go now? Is he going to take the loser of Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling? You know,
I would.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Is he going to take Aljamain Sterling?
Wow. You really think that's going to happen? Oh,
Peter Yan is going to run. He's going to punch a hole in Aljamain Sterling.
I mean, I agree. There's going to be an anger beating. There's going to be an anger beating on so many levels like we have never seen before. But I'm not counting Aljo out just yet.
Well,
okay,
you can't count him out because Peter Yan could throw in another illegal knee and Aljamain Sterling walk out the victor.
Oh, but, wow! You know, what happened to throwing out personal opinions out here?
I'm just saying, Aljamain has a disqualification chance of winning that rematch. So I can't.
People tend to think that Aljo didn't want this win. Okay, let's remind ourselves. He said it. He did not want this win. It was the people's around him. Like, look, you're the champion now. Okay, you're the champion. It is what it is.
The thing that the only part that I have, the reason why I'm going in on Aljamain Sterling, I don't have any personal beef with Aljamain Sterling. He's a great fighter. He seems like he's a good dude. The fact is that, and I even like understand the fact that the people in his circle said, "Look, you're the champ now. You should be the champ. You have the belt." The fact is I don't like the fact that he went on social media and started playing the heel role.
That's good.
And started antagonizing the fans who are giving him crap. Like, don't even engage that. Just be like, I am the champ. I commit to proving why I should be the champ in getting this rematch with Peter Yan. Like, that's what he should have been. But instead, he was antagonizing the fans and doing the social media thing. And I don't dig that. We all know how you became champion.
Yeah.
So
it's sometimes, man, the fans they're vicious, dude. Okay,
they can be vicious.
The mean tweets are real. Okay, they are very real. And it's like, haven't you ever been punched by somebody in a way that just all you see is anger at that point, and you're like,
yes.
Yeah. And I think that may have happened, that somebody may have hit him a little sideways with a comment, and he's like, you know what? Let me tell you how I really feel about this, and he embraced the heel.
All right. I just see it happening so much. People embracing the heel. Like,
hey, man.
But there's a silver lining, because there's one guy out there who never embraced the heel. And we're gonna talk about him a little bit later in the show.
What? Bret Hart? No, Bret Hart didn't embrace the heel.
No, come on now.
Sting never embraced the heel.
Come on now. Come on. We're not talking about professional wrestling. We're not talking about professional wrestling. This is not the professional wrestling hour. But
I will say one thing about professional wrestling. The person that explained why they embraced the heel the most and the best way was The Rock. Okay, Dwayne Johnson explained why he became the heel, and I was old enough to actually see that happening, so I understand why he embraced heel. Because he said for several years he hated the fans, like legitimately hated the fans, because he came out there and he was a baby face, and the fans were. It was like at the beginning of the Attitude Era, where people really started saying just heckling just for the heckle of it. Okay, and he just started hating the fans so much. So I get it, Aljo, why you're doing it. Just remember that there's a other side there where you have to say, that it'll be better once you beat Peter Yan. That's going to be the long and short.
That's and that's for me. And I consider myself more than just like a casual fan. Like, yeah. That's the thing that for me is like, if you're going to say that you have all of this honor and respect befitting a martial artist, then you have to find a way to rise above the comments in the social media. And I'll admit, I'm not the man in the arena. I'm not the one that's getting hit up with thousands of social media comments and every single day. I'm not the one suffering that he's suffering. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like you're either going to come off this, this I'm a role model. I am, I'm a person who believes in the tenets of martial arts and the integrity of being a warrior and all of those things that we believe these fighters should embody. You're either going to say that I'm coming off of that, I'm stepping down off of this high horse to go get in the muck with these fans, or you ignore the fans and you maintain your position. But you can't have both.
But ignoring the fans, man, that's a dangerous thing right there. That's a dangerous thing.
Then hey, look, take off all the crown, take off the royal robe, get the leather armor on and go sit in the mud and be like, look, I'm taking off. Let me undo this. Let me take this crown off and like make an announcement. Like, look, I try to be the bigger man, but the fans are not letting me be a bigger man. So now I'm gonna be a little man.
I thought he did say, you know what? I think we have to go back and sift through.
Let the record show. Let the record show.
Let's get some receipts. Get some receipts.
But that's the thing, and not just Aljamain is the example. I'm talking about fighters in general, though. Like if you're going to be, the favorite person that we like to pick on is John Jones. John Jones, yes. If you're going to speak like Yoda, if you're going to try to share all this wisdom, don't tweet and delete.
Yeah, no. John Jones is the one that should just embrace the dark side because he is the dark side. Okay, anybody can look at him and really look at him and tell that he ain't what he's trying to portray. He really is a dastardly villain. I'll leave it at that.
All right, look, I didn't go that far, John Jones. I didn't go that far.
Villain. It's okay.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and push the button.
What you just heard is solely the opinion of the speaker and does not reflect the opinions of anyone else on the Combat Sports Talk podcast or anyone affiliated with this program.
See, like I'm okay with 135-pound Aljamain Sterling showing up at my door. Not okay with John Jones strapped to the gills with machine guns. Now 230 pounds.
I thought you were gonna say EPO for a second there. I was like, come on, man. Don't let him come up like Bane and stuff, hit the juice button as he comes to my doorstep. Come on now. I'm just saying though. I mean, be evil. There are some people out there that just should be evil, and you know them. You see them, and you're just like, man, where is your Sith lightsaber at, man? Just go ahead, dude. All right, force choke somebody. All right, force choke.
I mean, he's dang near done everything at lightweight. We'll go see what happens. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for his debut at heavyweight. Speaking of debut, Bare Knuckle FC 19, Rachel Ostovich, very first time walking into the circle of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, facing off against the person that they would love to see become a combat star in the Bare Knuckle arena, Paige Van Zant. This was Friday, July 23rd, 2021 at the Florida State Fairgrounds in Tampa, Florida. There were two fights we were covering on this card. Mm-hmm. The first one is Britain Hart versus Jenny Savage. Jenny may have the last name Savage, but she ain't one. Because Britain Hart is. Britain is all heart. Is it Britain Hart now? Or is it Britain Beltran?
And man, all I'm saying was Jenny got dealt with on a personal basis and wasn't her fault. Okay. That beating was reserved. Britain saw Paige's face on Jenny's body, and she just said, "Okay, this is how I'm going to do it." And she came in there and put the fistuses on that body. All right.
Yeah, it took 3 rounds, but Britain Hart got her out with via TKO. I mean, now I'm ready to see what Britain's going to do next. I think that she's quickly becoming one of the stars of Bare Knuckle FC. Maybe they match up Britain Hart versus Rachel Ostovich. That might be a good fight to see coming up.
I think that will. Just see, she's like, Britain is like Clubber Lang off of Rocky 3. that she ain't getting no respect on her name. Okay, that's what it
Mhm.
is. And see, Paige is like Rocky, and Bryn's gonna just show up wherever Paige is at. Any type of signing or anything like that, and she's gonna have the little feather earring and everything, and Britain's is just gonna okay.
Yeah,
Trust me.
Brit after beating we have a clip of Britain Hart after she beat up Jenny Savage, and she said,
I need to put some respect on my f***ing name.
Woo! Man, hey, it's true though, y'all.
Yeah, you need to respect some Britain Hart. She is a fighter.
Yeah.
She is smashing
want
these
that
ladies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she don't want no glitz and glamour. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah,
She wants the glitz and hammer.
Paige Van Zant said, come for the boobs and stay for the violence. Britain Hart is like, come for the violence and stay for the blood.
Yes. And there will be blood.
There
All
will
right,
be
trust
blood.
me.
In the main event of the evening, Rachel Ostovich got her revenge against Paige Van Zant, winning via unanimous decision, 48-47 on two cards and 49-46 on another. So two judges had it 3-2, one had it 4-1. I saw some of the clips. Paige Van Zant landed a lot of punches, but there's not a lot of power behind them. And Rachel Ostovich was just like blam, blam, just laying like just putting them hands on Paige's face. She looked like she had been in a fight. By the time it was all done, Paige Van Zant did. Apparently, she's on social media saying, "I'll be back." It's all about mindset and stuff. And it's like, Paige,
you just got beat.
I mean, we're starting to see and this is the conversation that I've had with Kelechi, right? Is hey, listen, Paige. Listen, Kelechi. It's one of those things where, the reason why Paige was making all of that money is because she was tied to the UFC, and so because she would fight these second tier ladies, win these fights, then she could go on social media and be like, a pinup model or whatever.
Right.
That model works if you're signed to the UFC. If you're fighting these up-and-coming girls, if you're essentially a gatekeeper in the female ladder, that's a perfect place to be if you're moderately attractive.
Right.
The problem is that you gotta see that is the system. That is what's working for you. So when you begin to look at that money that you're making on Instagram and you say, oh, I can make more money as a model than I could as a fighter, then, go ahead with your bad self. But you're going to find very quickly that UFC brand is what's giving you that lift. So she then starts getting these big paychecks at BKFC. She's bringing people in because she does have a following, but you can't lose.
That is true.
And she just lost to Britain Hart, and then she lost to Rachel Ostovich. What you think BKFC is going to keep paying her big dollars to get punched in the face?
Absolutely not. Unless she change, I don't know how long her fight contract is, but it's looking real short right now until she turns it around. So let's talk about this, okay?
All right.
Because to me, first of all, okay, if you ever follow Rachel Ostovich, one thing you know about her is that she hood. Okay, she is pure hood, and she wears hoop earrings. Now, I don't care what anybody said. This may become, I
got my finger on the button because I don't like where you're going with this.
All right, don't be fighting no girls with hoop earrings. Okay, don't do it. All right, these women fight. These women fight. Okay, all right, and as we saw, Rachel came in there and she was swinging them things well. Okay, and I've always been a fan of Rachel. I think this may become very scary. What if Rachel becomes the new face of BKFC?
She absolutely could. And that's the thing, is that Rachel is now 1-0. If Rachel wants to be the face of BKFC, I can tell you one thing she should not do.
What's that?
Fight Britain Hart. Don't fight Britain Hart.
She's got to. She's got to fight Britain Hart.
She got to beat Britain Hart.
She's got to go in there and she got to put some things on her. All right. So because that's the only way it's going to happen. Otherwise, Britain has a stake in the crown. Okay. Britain, that's the whole point about Britain. That's why she fired up now. It's because they said that, basically in her mindset, they got these pretty faces coming in here, taking over the game, and I've been here doing the work. She ain't having it. And the only way that you're going to get this is if you get a person that's a striker like Rachel Ostovich that comes in here with these hoop earrings, and because she fighting in the schoolyard back in the day, and that her and Britain, they just got to go for it and go for the gold, because I think they can scrap real good.
It would be a good fight. I don't know that you could get me to pay for a BKFC fight. I might go watch it somewhere though. I would be interested in watching the Britain Hart versus Rachel Ostovich fight. I would be interested in watching that fight.
Yeah, and let's put it out there. I mean, this fight was a solid fight. Like you said, Paige put more hands on her, but were less effective. Whereas Rachel didn't. The shots that she was putting on her were effective. Okay, so it was a good, solid fight. I got no beef with it. I mean, you saw some technique in there with Rachel. She was in it. So with that said, we need to see. Or wait, before I say that, we need to see Britain Hart and Rachel Ostovich fight, of course. But I'm also wanting to know, and I think the Combat Sports Nation needs to know. This Combat Sports Taters. We need to know: are you willing to put some respect on BKFC's name?
Yes. Okay. Look. Yes. You gotta put respect on BKFC's name, because the thing is that they've proven that they're not a fly-by-night promotion. They are here to stay. Like as they continue to pick up these names, they are putting on bigger and bigger cards. For me, I'm not a fan of the Rock'em Sock'em stand in the center of the ring because I want you to kind of fighting. It happens in the UFC, and we celebrate it when it happens in the UFC. But at the same time, they aren't expected to, and that's the big difference. BKFC expects the fighters to stand in there and bang. For me, I like to see the art of I like to see the art in the martial arts. Not just standing in there, not the martial part. I like the art part. And so it is better to be in a fight where you hit and not get hit than you both walk away looking like ground beef.
And I can respect that. All right. So I appreciate the art part of martial arts as well. But if you're in a fighting ring and you're scheduled to fight each other, you can still go in there, hit and dodge out the way and not be hit. You don't have to go rock'em sock'em. Okay, there's a difference when you're using technique defensively, totally defensively, as opposed to using techniques to on the offense.
I got soured on BKFC whenever they penalized that fighter and took part of his purse for boxing. He was using footwork, he was staying at difference, he was sticking and moving, and really wasn't engaging. But he was doing his damage. And not, not sitting in the ring, and just taking that damage. And when you penalize a fighter for actually boxing, then now basically what you do have is gladiatorial sports where you're expecting two men to enter and one man to leave, and it's like that's not why I got into this sport.
You know what? Maybe we need to really revisit that boxing match. Okay, we really need to revisit, because there's one thing where you're using boxing technique and you're fighting and you're dodging and you're weaving. You got the footwork. It's another thing if you sit on your bike. And that's where I'm like, was he? I have to go back and really watch this match again.
I would go back and watch it, because it's if it's passivity, that's one thing. If it's and let's talk about someone like Holly Holm. Holly Holm gets on her bike. You got to chase Holly home, and that's where she gets you, because you chase her around the ring because she's constantly moving. She's not sitting still. And then what happens? She catches you on the counter. She gets you with a head kick, and that's her game. So it's passivity that we don't like, right? We don't want a fighter trying not to engage, but it's another thing if you're sticking and moving. It's another thing if you're frustrating your opponent because you're never there. You won't let them set up. You won't let them, ground themselves so they can generate power. So that means they have to fight a jab fight the whole fight. And if it's not their game, you will win that every time. I mean, that's a strategy. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see the art. I want to see the strategy. I want to see the science. It's not just the brutality.
Well, so let's talk about Lyoto Machida. Okay, if you want to talk about that, is the best dude to do it, as far as I'm concerned, when he was in his prime and when he was light heavyweight champion. He would go in there and, he would throw his feints. He would be past, but he would go in there, hit you for 2 or 3, and be out before you threw your one. That's different. That's, I can appreciate. Okay, because one, he never lost a round.
I mean, he eventually did, but maybe back then, Lyoto Machida had some challenges because of the fact that because he was a counter striker, he could lose a fight because if the other person kind of went in on him, the other person did a lot of damage on him, then what you end up having is Lyoto Machida ends up taking more damage but doesn't make it back on the counter striking game that he's used to having. And so, when you look at it that way, it's like, okay, I will commit to revisiting that fight in BKFC, and I will watch it with fair eyes. And if it works out that, the guy was being passive and not sparring or not using distance and movement to keep his opponent at bay, then that I will admit that's exactly what happened. So let's go ahead and close the book on this one and put this one on the shelf because this fight is history. Both of these cards are history. Now let's look at at what's happening in the world of mixed martial arts with Finding the Angles. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we talk about the headlines that are making waves in the in the UFC, the MMA world, and combat sports in general. The first one is a title, is a headline that we were talking about last week, but now we've got a little bit of an inkling of what's going to happen, and that is Logan Paul versus Anderson Silva. So just coming off the fight against Floyd Mayweather, you've got Logan Paul looking for his next opponent, and it looks like it's going to come in the form of the Spider, Anderson Silva, having just beaten Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And so what looks like there is a leaked message from a screenshot that Dylan Dennis posted. Of course, we know that Dylan Dennis and the Paul brothers have a little bit of a rivalry going on, saying that Victor Doria, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, claims that Paul will fight Silva at a huge event in Dubai on September 19th. So it looks like that this is coming together, coalescing into another fight between a Paul brother and Anderson Silva. So looks like we're going to get a little bit of Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, and then Logan Paul versus Anderson Silva. I gotta say, Logan Paul is getting the better end of these matchups. He got Floyd Mayweather, who is boxing royalty. He's got Anderson Silva, who is MMA royalty. Not saying anything bad about Tyron Woodley, but when you think about Anderson Silva and the star power of Anderson Silva versus the star power of Tyron Woodley, I feel like Logan Paul got at the better end of the deal. So it'll be interesting. It's another one of those where I probably will go to a bar and watch that fight because I support Anderson Silva. And, I hope that Anderson Silva, who is, in his mid to late 40s, fighting against Logan Paul, who's probably the bigger guy. Hopefully he'll go and he'll finally put an end to this YouTuber sensation in in the ring. Next story of the night is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So little known story. Coming after his UFC 264 appearance, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson had an incident at weigh-ins. Did you hear about this, John?
Yes, I did hear about this, and I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, I paid my internet bill. I promise. Just had a bit of technical difficulty.
No worries.
Yeah.
So Stephen Wonderboy Thompson makes weight. They're fighting at 170 pounds against Gilbert Burns. Gets to the back, and he has been starving himself, dehydrating himself, and his team has all the foods, everything that he wants. He's ready, and dude starts scarfing down. And if you ever have been super hungry and ate heavy food too fast, you know what happens.
Oh yeah. There she blows. Yeah.
The digestive system goes in reverse, and as fast as you got it down, it comes back twice speed. They said he looked like the Exorcist, projectile vomiting.
Is the split pea soup? Is that what it was?
It might have been. And the thing that was so embarrassing, but this is why I love Wonder Boy so much. Like, we've talked about Wonder Boy and whether or not he's got Dana White privilege and all these kind of things like that. Here's the thing. Wonder Boy is about as genuine a dude as you're gonna find in the UFC, right? He is the NMF champion, and that is the nice mofo. And so he was there in front of all of these fighters, and these fighters were trying to get his autograph because they're big fans of his and things like that. And he's like, "Oh, excuse me for a moment."
Wow.
So not only did he get sick after weigh-ins, but he got sick in front of his fans and the UFC fighters who had come there to support him and get to know him and get to meet him. So he said he was pretty embarrassed.
Trust me, they still love him for it. He has nothing to be embarrassed about. Like I told y'all, Wonder Boy is like one of the nicest dudes in MMA. Okay, absolutely, without a doubt, he is a salt of the earth dude. And it's not like I've ever met the dude, but it's just the aura he presents. And if his aura, if he is anything other than what he is presenting, I would be highly surprised.
Right. Yeah. I feel the same way about him. Like I've been a big fan of his, and I like the way that he is gracious in victory and in defeat. He can make jokes about himself. He can laugh at himself, and this is just another one of those times where you go when you say the nice guy that he portrays in the ring is the nice guy that he portrays in real life. And
Absolutely.
I shout him out for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, a person who loses gracefully and graciously and can laugh at himself, Conor McGregor's not one of those guys.
No,
at least he's not anymore.
I don't think he ever was.
Well, we can say that Conor McGregor doesn't necessarily laugh at himself, but he has lost gracefully. His loss against Nate Diaz, he was pretty graceful. His loss against Khabib Nurmagomedov was graceful until Khabib went Tasmanian Devil. I think that but his loss against Dustin Poirier, the first one was like borderline, and this last one he was still talking trash the entire time with a broken ankle. Here's the interesting thing. Anthony Lionheart Smith weighed in, and he's like, the fighters, the fans can believe what Conor says, that he was injured coming into the ring, but everybody's injured coming into the ring.
Exactly.
And so he's like, I'm not going to believe that Conor McGregor was any more or less injured than Dustin Poirier coming into the ring. So it's not going to be one of those things where any of us are going to believe that you didn't lose this fight. It was a doctor stoppage. No, you lost this fight.
Yeah. Because I'm like, when he started, it's just like with Anderson Silva, it's just like with Chris Weidman. Okay. They lost that fight. Whether I like to hear it or not, they lost that fight. So this is no different. Okay. A loss is still a loss, no matter what. You jumped in the ring, you closed the door. That tells us that you are 100% ready to go. No excuses, And I still don't understand why the vitriol, though. What is it about this one? You do not believe how much reading I've been doing between their history, and I cannot find one thing that will make it this heated. Okay, even with his previous losses, I would think the one between Nate Diaz and him would be like this. I expected that to be like this, but it wasn't.
It's the fact that it was the second fight. It's the second fight where he lost to Nate Diaz. He only lost one fight, right? And then he got the rematch, and then he won. He lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov, but everyone feels like Khabib Nurmagomedov is invincible. So the fact that he lost, it's still one of those things where it's like, well, no one beats Khabib Nurmagomedov. So there's these moral victories. There's these silver linings that you can have. When you lose to Dustin Poirier, the way that he beat Dustin Poirier at 145, the very first time they fought, made him feel like he was invincible. Right? Like, that was part of the lore of Conor McGregor. Coming into the next fight, he gets finished by Dustin Poirier, but he's like, well, you know what? You kicked my leg. So I'm you kicked my leg and you calf kicked me, and I was in a boxing stance anyway. So if I go back to my original thing, there's no way that you're going to be able to beat me. And then this happens. So it's Conor McGregor having to deal with the fact that all of these other jaunts into other sports, all of this other business stuff that he's done, everything that's not spending time fighting in the octagon is proving the fact that the sport is passing him by. And he has to stay relevant because an irrelevant Conor McGregor cannot live with himself.
And that's a shame. That really is a shame. He has a wife. He has kids. He's got plenty of money. He can literally, I don't think he could literally just go riding off in the sunset and be done with it. He could have done it willingly. He may have to do it forcefully now.
Well, but that's the thing now, right? Is perhaps if he had beaten Dustin Poirier, well, he probably would have wanted the fight against Charles Oliveira, right? And try to get that title back. That. But now it's trying to go out, with a win. Like I think we can all agree that Conor McGregor doesn't really have anything else to fight for. He's a 2-division champion. He's reached the top of the boxing world by fighting Floyd Mayweather and making millions and millions of dollars. He's reached the top of the MMA world because he has really set a new standard for fighter pay, if you believe that. Which, by the way, I did some research on fighter pay, and Conor McGregor made I think it was $8,000 for his first fight. It was $8,000 to show and $8,000 to win, so he made $16,000 in his first fight with the UFC.
Right.
So people were talking about Conor McGregor, he gets all these advantages and things like that. No, Conor McGregor on his very first fight was $16,000, 8 to show and 8 to win.
And he earned it. See, that's the thing. He earned all that. Okay, now
right.
Conor is one of the fighters that I will say he marketed himself, and he got the pay. Simple.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, now what is there left to fight for Conor? And everyone's starting to look at him going, okay, why are you still here? Because now who are you going to fight? You can't fight Dustin Poirier again because he's beaten you twice now. Are you going to fight Justin Gaethje? Nobody wants that fight. You're going to fight Michael Chandler? Conor doesn't want that fight. You're going to fight Islam Makhachev? Nobody wants that fight.
Nobody wants that fight.
I know you want to fight Charles Oliveira, but you're not going to get that fight because he's the champ. So now you're looking at people like Tony Ferguson, who's at number 7. You're looking at Dan Hooker. You're looking at these fighters who don't have the name anymore. And we talked about this last week. In order to rebuild that aura of invincibility that Conor McGregor once had, you got to take it out on these little guys. And his pride won't let him do that. His pride says that he needs to be top billing, number one name on the top of the marquee on a pay-per-view. And you're just not going to get a pay-per-view marquee name at 6 through 10.
Well, think about it this way. It could have been the other way. He could have said, "You know what? I'm rebuilding myself. I'm going to start at number 10 and bring it up." He could have been he could have been a main eventer and bringing that top 10 through 6 up with him. Okay?
Right. But he's got to accept the fact that he is just another fighter. And he can't do that. He's got too much money in the bank. He's got all this big energy behind him to do that. And so what ends up happening is now you got Conor McGregor, who is like, I can't be the main event of a UFC Vegas. I gotta be the main event of a pay-per-view. And unfortunately, you've fallen off the pace now. So that's why you're getting that's why you're getting all the anger, right? That's why you're getting all of the frustration, because it is now apparent that no one is going to give Conor that fight and risk their spot for a guy who's got 2 losses in a row, who's lost 3 of his last 4 in the UFC.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, let me look here. But yeah, you're right. And guess what? He hopefully in this downtime, he has a very honest conversation with himself, because nobody's going to tell him about his pride. I mean, not even his wife, not even his kids. Only person that can tell him about his pride
is us.
Going to be him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
him.
Yeah, well, you know. I mean, we could tell him, but
we could tell him. I mean, I would be glad to sit down across the table from Conor and be like, "Hey, man, like I would get him, Conor, and I would get Luke Rockhold together. Like I would sit these guys and be like, let's sit down and let's talk about how you get back to the levels that you want. This is a sport about humility. This is a sport about putting in the work. And yes, you guys put in the work in the gym, but now you got to put the work in and rebuild this winning streak, because you don't. I mean, yes, there are exceptions, and I'm sure you could give me 2 or 3 examples of fighters who got title shots on losing streaks. But at the end of the day, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's not the spirit of the sport. And I think Alexander Volkanovski said it best. What, do you really want me to keep fighting Max Holloway until he beats me? Is that what you want?
Yeah,
you really want Conor to keep fighting Dustin Poirier until finally Conor can win? Like, that's not how this game works, guys. So look at where you're at. Luke Rockhold, I don't even think he's ranked. Look at Conor McGregor. Yeah. He's ranked at number 9. Guys, right. Conor, you're going to have to fight a UFC Vegas at the Apex Arena. Put in that 1 minute worth of work. You got a titanium shin now. The advantage.
Yeah. Like Lex Luger with his titanium forearm when he would
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll let it go.
It's relevant. Go ahead. Titanium forearm. He'd knock people out.
Knock people straight out. Yeah. Hit them in a torture rack.
Yeah. So speaking of 155, Michael Chandler's trying to get his next fight, right? And so he wants Justin Gaethje, but something that we did not account for is Justin Gaethje and Islam Makhachev have the same management, so they're not going to fight. So it's like what Michael Chandler is saying is like, I want to fight Justin Gaethje, but Justin's ducking me, and they're trying to give me Islam instead. And it's like, and Justin Gaethje is like, look, when you went to fight for the title, I was asking for that fight, but no, you wanted to fight Charles Oliveira. So now I've been on vacation, and because you haven't heard from me, I'm ducking you? No, bro. It was duck season back before Charles Oliveira.
Oh, yeah. So you don't want none of that. I don't think, I don't think anybody wants any piece of Michael Chandler. That's why he's commentating.
No. Justin Gaethje, I think Justin Gaethje wants a piece of Michael Chandler. But at the end of the day, it's like, now you're trying to make a name for yourself because you lost the title shot, and you need a name brand win to get a title shot. So let's look down the list. Can't pick Dustin Poirier. The only other person you can pick in the top 5, because you're ranked number 5, is Justin Gaethje. Actually, no, that's not correct. Number 1 is Poirier. Number 2 is Gaethje. Number 3 is Chandler, I believe. And
So
then
he would.
no, number three is Benil Dariush. 4 is Chandler, and 5 is Islam.
So
We haven't been talking about Benil.
And
We can talk
Benil's
about
got
Benil.
a fight coming. Yeah, he's got a fight coming, doesn't he?
Very soon.
Yeah, so he's not going to get him. So looks like it's either Islam. It looks like Islam if Justin don't want it, and he's gonna have to fight. He's gonna have to fight him. So, you came here. It didn't. I could have sworn in this promo that he said he came here to fight the very best. Well, Islam is one of those people in that category. So what's the problem?
Yeah, it's about styles make fights, and Michael Chandler knows that Justin Gaethje, even though he is a wrestler and has wrestling pedigree, that Justin prefers to stand and bang, and that's what Michael Chandler wants. What Michael Chandler doesn't want is Islam Makhachev, who does everything.
Everything.
Oh, there's
You don't want
clearly
that bad day. You don't want that bad day.
he don't want that Russian smoke. A little bit of Chernobyl in there.
Hold on. Let's find out what's Russian for smoke. Hold on.
Okay, while you do that, I'm gonna go into the next one. Brandon Moreno. Somebody wants a piece of Brandon Moreno. It's Davidson Figueiredo. Even though Davidson Figueiredo got finished, he wants that fight again. It's like, bro, we had a draw the first match. I finished you the second match. You got to fight somebody else. So Brandon Moreno said, hey, what about Cody Garbrandt?
What?
Brandon Moreno versus Cody Garbrandt. What do you think?
No. Cody's on a losing streak. Speaking about people who gets a championship fight on losing streaks. 2, I don't know if that would be a hard fight for Moreno, because we know how to get under Cody's skin. We know how Cody loses. He loses because he hits this barbarian rage, okay, and he can be controlled. No, and just for FYI, I believe the word is curate for smoke. That smoke for Russian is curate. So nobody wants none of that. Anyway,
all right, yeah, but you got to pronounce it the Russian way, kurit.
There you go. There it is, Combat Sports Nation. Kurit.
You don't want that kurit.
None. No. Nada. But no, Moreno. There was a draw the first time. He finished him the second time. There is an argument for Figueiredo for a third. There is an argument because it was a draw and it was a knockout.
No, he choked him out. It was a submission.
He choked. Yeah, he did. He submitted.
He submitted him with a rear naked choke. First round, it's done. You're done.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't a war. Yeah, sorry, Figueiredo to the back end. But Cody, hey, how about this? Make Davison and Cody fight. There you go. Make them fight. See how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take either one. I like Cody Garbrandt as long as he can stay in the pocket and actually win a fight by not getting angry. Like, don't get angry, just win.
Just swing like you usually do. I mean, he swings and it's like boom, it's like dynamite going off, and it's just like, but he gets this barbarian rage, and it's over. We're like, oh well, here we go. Who does that remind us of? Mike Perry. Okay,
Mike Perry, Platinum Mike Perry.
How's he doing? I wonder how he's doing.
Man, dude, let that dude fly below the radar. Let's not even invoke his name. You say it 3 times, he's gonna appear and be like, "It's showtime." We'll never get rid of him. So no, don't say his name. But since we're talking about 125ers, we have to talk about the single greatest 125-pound fighter ever to grace the octagon in the UFC, and that is Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson.
Right on.
Remember when I told you that there was somebody who never embraced the heel? Even though he didn't get it, he wasn't always beloved by the fans, he never embraced the heel, and that's Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. And it was a great opportunity to see. He said, I don't normally talk about my mindset because I just don't like talking about it, but he had an opportunity. He went on Instagram and he talked about what his mindset and how he thinks. It has to do with him and his son Tyron, which is interesting that he has a son with the same name as a UFC fighter. I don't know if there's anything related to that. Maybe Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson is a fan of Woodley.
Yeah, he could be like Tyron. That's a great name.
Yeah, he's missing an E though. Yeah. It's just Tyrone with no E. But so it was Tyron's birthday. And he wanted to get ready because I guess one of his kids, I guess Tyron is the kid that is also a motocross kid, right? And so the next day they're supposed to drive down to somewhere in Washington for a motocross event, but it was the kid's birthday. And unfortunately, whenever Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson was checking the truck out because he's got this big diesel truck that pulls the trailer that has all the motorcycles on it, he noticed that there was a fuel leak. So he takes this brand new truck back to the Ford dealership, and so he's trying to get the car fixed before they leave the next day. He's sitting in the waiting room, and there's a guy that's been sitting in there for like 3 or 4 hours. And Demetrius tells the guy what's going on with his truck, and the guy's like, "Look, if I were you, I would have come in here, angry, yelling, just tearing into these people. How dare they sell you a brand new Ford diesel truck, and it has all these problems." And Demetrius said that it was a moment for him to explain his mindset, and it was that it was nobody's fault. No one could predict that this truck was going to have a fuel leak. And in actuality, it had a cracked fuel pan, and so therefore they didn't have the equipment. They didn't have the inventory to replace it. He's like, and so he wasn't going to be able to get the truck home in time. He wasn't going to get the truck for the motocross event. But he's like, "Listen, it's my son's birthday. I've been sitting here in this waiting room just to get bad news. I have every reason to be upset, but I've been blessed with a healthy body, a fit body, and I live 4 miles away. So I'm not going to sit here and get mad. I'm not going to sit here and cause a ruckus. I'm going to be respectful because that's who I am. And I'm not going to get my wife to stop getting ready for the birthday party. I'm not going to have her get into the car and have to get all the kids in the car. I'm just going to run home." And over the course of a 4-mile run, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, with his truck in the shop, with his kids and his family at home getting ready for a birthday party, runs home 4 miles in complete alignment with his personality, in complete alignment with who he has always said he is. And that's what we want to see in the MMA world. That's what we want to see, that alignment of martial arts and the integrity and humility and respect. At the end of the day, this sport can be a lot of things. This sport can be very in your face, very WWE bombastic. But at the end of the day, you either commit to those values that you aspire to, or you don't. This is why I was saying before, if you're going to go that other route, if you're going to be that hardcore dude that's going to yell at people and get in their face, then do it. But be honest with yourself about that's who you are. If you're not that guy, then don't do it. Be the person that you are. And Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, who happens to be my favorite dude, and maybe I'm just gushing too much for Mr. Johnson. The thing is that he has always been consistent about who he is, and that is why I respect him. So that's it. Those are the headlines making waves in the UFC world and in the MMA world. We're going to go to the final segment of the card, and that is the fight card. All right, this is the fight card. This is where we look at the at the fights that are coming up this weekend. The main one we're going to cover is UFC Vegas 33. That's Hall versus Strickland, Saturday, July 31st, 2021, at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got 5 fights on the card. Rafa Garcia versus Chris Gutsenmacher. We got Jin Yu Frey versus Ashley Yoder. Brian Barberina versus Jason Witt. The co-main event features Danny Chavez versus Kai Kamaka. And in the main event of the evening, coming off of the devastating injury against Chris Weidman, Uriah Hall steps back into the ring versus Sean Strickland. That's the fight that we're going to that I'm going to pick tonight. And so I'm going to go. This is going to be a huge fight, though. So you've got Uriah Hall, who has finally, it seems as though the naivety and the fear and the anxiousness that he used to bring to the octagon, where we would say, he's a bit of a head case, that we don't know which Uriah Hall is going to appear. It seems like he's gotten all that worked out. Now, as far as I know, he's still training just down the road in Fort Worth is it Fort Worth? I think it's Dallas. Training down the road in Dallas at Fortis MMA. And so this is where Uriah Hall is starting to make that climb up that ladder. We might actually get to see him fight Israel Adesanya. It's putting people away like Sean Strickland. And let me just say, Sean Strickland is a game opponent. This dude can fight. This dude is able to stand in the ring, and he's got so much power that it's going to be fireworks when you look at Sean Strickland versus Uriah Hall. Now, the question is, who do I have? Who am I going to pick? I think that I'm going to go with Uriah Hall. I'm going to continue to stay on the Uriah Hall hype train for just a little while longer. Now, I'm not officially on the hype train, but I've been following Uriah Hall and picking Uriah Hall for these last couple of fights. I'm going to pick him again in this fight, but I think that Sean Strickland's going to make a fight out of this. It's very possible that Sean Strickland might actually grind Uriah Hall down to be able to pull out a win. But I got Uriah Hall in this fight. So that's it. That is our show today. Follow us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Combat Sports Talk. You can see us on all of our social media here on the side. John Keys is the Keys to Victory. That's Keys with an ES. You've got George at Darkside_Muay Thai_. And this is something that we need to talk about real quick because we really promote it very heavily. Canafist OKC this past weekend, yesterday. George Stallworth was supposed to enter the ring one more time, and we were going to get to see him in his glory. He's been training. He's lost so much weight, getting ready to make that 185-pound weight limit. And what ended up happening is he got a message on, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday last week, that his opponent wasn't going to be able to make it. There was a scheduling conflict, and so therefore his opponent was out, which meant that they weren't going to have enough time to find him a fight. And so therefore George Stallworth did not get to fight. He was super disappointed, and he was so ready, so game to get back into the ring and do what he loves, and that is fighting Muay Thai kickboxing. But there's a silver lining. It looks like they're going to get another fight for George on October 29th. Or sometime in October, right around Halloween time. George may get another fight. It'll be in Oklahoma City. More details to come. Hopefully this time it'll be for a belt. And if it is, we might have a triple champ, George G-Money Stallworth. Want to send a shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, and Bloody Elbow. Also the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group. We got some posts in there. Thank you so much for y'all's feedback. All the sites where we start our conversations and get the stories for our show. So, on behalf of John Keys and the rest of the Combat Sports Talk crew, my name is Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.